Hey pirates, how's everyone? I want to talk with you today about building a Vendetta as part of your base guard. Main reason being you can put it in the back of your guard like I have it here, and the remote range will cover the entrance and most of the path in your channel, as long as you have one ship to spot throughout the path so the Vendetta keeps firing, right? The other thing you should look into is like having this guy shooting mortars, and at the same time you have more mortar turrets from your base, so altogether they would probably be able to overcome and overwhelm the gales that your attacker may have. The other thing to consider is in a building nearby, using the tactical module that reduces splash, because vendettas have no explosive defense. So this is the module you should look into: splash dispersion. Level 2 is on tier 5 of FM, level 1 is in tier 4. Right, so you combine this with the proper armor and you can help them last a lot longer while attackers are firing mortars at these guys nearby, so the splash is not damaging the Vendetta as much. Right, so let's take a look at the build for a ship similar to that. Let's start by taking a look at the Zoe's Vendetta, as this one has some flagship effects and would make a fantastic base guard. Every Vendetta has the bonuses you see here in the attack field, so less spread, more splash 50%, there's extra bonuses for mortar and rocket reloads, right? The difference being the Zoe Vendetta as a flagship effect will give you some ballistic deflection, but the most important, 225% extra explosive damage, which means these mortars will be a lot more effective in overcoming deflection of your attackers. It also gives you 100% projectile speed, meaning mortars will land a lot faster, and even fast moving attackers will take some damage. So you combine a lot extra damage and a lot more speed. The main thing you need to work on now is splash, and you already start with plus 50%. Okay, so keep in mind these are the key statistics that make this ship awesome for base defense. If you don't have the Zoe Vendetta, just use regular Vendettas or use Harlock Citadel for a similar effect. I prefer the Vendetta over the Citadel, because if the attacker actually makes close to the ship, this one will last a lot longer, while the Citadels will just be killed almost instantly by attackers, and they can also be easily killed by rockets. So that's why I keep mine close to an anti-rocket turret, so the daisy cutters can kill them. Let's talk about the weapons. So you could go all coaxial firestorm. It fires a lot more often with shorter reload time, but this mortar has a low damage, relatively speaking, of 3,920 against ships. Its main advantage is actually against walls and buildings, so it's made if your vendettas will be attacking bases, that is the mortar you want. If they will be in your defense, then you should actually look at the judgment, because it has much higher damage against overall 6,100, and in only 2 salvos, so you actually get 3,050 damage per salvo. When you apply all the bonuses and so on, they have a higher likelihood of overcoming deflection. So I prefer them. The only reason I keep some coaxial firestorms is that they double as rockets. So for instance, Fury Blitzers and things like that will still take damage from the coaxial firestorms if they get close to your Vendetta. But if you're only looking at it from a distance as a mortar mode, I would go Judgment, even with the slower reload. And the other advantage is the Judgments, if your attacker has Gales to shoot down mortars, Judgments can actually overwhelm Gales, because every time one of them gets shot down, they break into 3 Mervs, and eventually they overpower the Gales, right? So I'm showing a mix of 3 and 3 here, but if it's only defense, I could probably go all Judgment if you wanted. right? But I'll keep it like this. Finally, a lockdown rocket. Why? Because if your attacker ever gets closer, and this guy being the last line of defense before the main island where my outpost is, the lockdown will slow them down a lot, so the turrets can still do some damage, any remaining ship can still do some damage for longer, right? Especially if Furies get into your base. Keep that in mind, and you probably need some lockdown in there. If Blitzers don't make past your guard often, so you probably want to just put another mortar in there, okay? First special, Combustion System 2. This will give you extra 37% projectile speed. It gives you more splash, so now you go from 50% extra splash on the ship to 124%. So each projectile landing will do damage over a much wider area, so even fast attackers will receive some splash damage. You're increasing the likelihood they'll receive splash damage. Projectile speed, they'll travel fast, they'll hit fast, so again, moving targets will not be such a problem. If you don't have Combustion System 2, the second best option is Explosive System 4. The only difference is that one reduces the spread. I prefer a wider spread, more scattered, so if other ships are nearby or if they're moving fast, you still have more chances, better chances of hitting the attacker. The second special for the base guard Vendetta is Resonance Capacitor. Why? For only one reason. You don't need the turret defense if you're going to be in base guard, and you don't care about the bonus combat speed, but you do care about the extra 36% damage you get. Again, you buff a Judgment Mortar by 36%, so you're going to be again overcoming deflection a lot easier. Why Resonance Capacitor? Remember, the Vendetta has a friendly field that says Resonance Trigger yes, so it self-activates and you get these bonuses all the time, right? If it's near other ships, just remember the Vendetta field will also help the other ships in your guard by increasing by a little bit. It's only 4.5%, but increases their chances of doing critical damages that do twice as much damage, double damage. And if they have their own resonance capacitors, this field will also activate it for them, right? So it depends on the layout you put on your base. It can be a great choice. The third special, and for this one you have to be caught up on your Forsaken mission, is the Viscosity Regulator. Because you already have Combustion System that gives you 74% splash, you cannot use high explosive shells, explosive systems, or any other special that gives you significant additional splash. But you can use the Viscosity Regulator and buff your splash now to 174%. Right? So again, the mortars will do damage over a much wider area. And even though this special was designed for radioactive weapons, it works really well in these mortars. If you don't have the Viscosity Regulator, you should probably go for Splash Upgrade. It gives you only, I think, 15% or so. Let me double check. Here. 12%. That's your second best option here. But the Viscosity Regulator makes a hell of a difference. The fourth special, if you got it last raid, is the high velocity rounds. If your Vendettas are for base attacking, this helps with building damage as well and can replace things like siege targeting. In base defense, the only reason I'm putting it there is for the 100% extra projectile speed. So now you're going from the 37% you got here to 137% faster. And since this is the Zoe's Vendetta, you get another 100% from the flagship effect down here. So literally, your mortars will be flying faster than missiles on your attackers. It's just like a mortar black rain, like hitting them all over the place. It does really a lot of damage. For the last special, there's a whole bunch of options. I'm gonna look at 3 or 4 of them and you decide based on your play style or what you do. Like my Vendetta will be covered by an anti-rocket turret. If yours is not, you might want to consider a guidance scrambler. Not much for the evade, because that's still going to be negative, but just for the stun resistance, so it cannot be pinched. Or if it's pinched, it actually recovers a lot faster. So that's one option. The other option, if you want to do even more damage against high deflection ships, is to use the explosive upgrade and get extra 10% damage. Right? They all fit this build here. Another option is, again, even more splash and go crazy on splash and get the splash upgrade. Another option, if you want these mortars to hit submarines in case they're spotted, you can use hydrodynamic shells, and 50% of the damage of the mortars will hit underwater. And this is before you even retrofit, otherwise can be even more. Another option, it's the cryo battery. So you can actually slow down incoming attackers with random overrides of cryo fields. The problem is, if your attacker has resonance capacitor, these fields actually activate their capacitor, giving them a buff. So I'm not a big fan of that special anymore, mainly for that reason. So these are the main specials you can look into. Right now, I'm just gonna leave the explosive upgrade. A final option I forgot to mention, if you just want more reload, you can use the countermeasure loaders. It's gonna give you 20% extra mortar reload. That's also another great choice, especially if you're putting any gales on that ship. It's probably the best option you can pick. As for armor, a few choices. You can just leave it armorless like this, quick repair. But considering the base guard slot has half-time repair all the time, this ship would actually repair in 21 minutes, as is. Right? So you may actually go and buff the radioactive deflection a little bit from 9000 and just pick a radioactive plate from here. And now we are at 14,000. The other option, because the Vendettas have no explosive deflection at all, you can use the war plates to give them an armor buff. At the same time, you cut down splash damage from mostly explosive weapons. So if you combine two of these, now you have a lot more armor. You have 20% splash reduction. And then if you add the splash reduction from the special I have in the dock, any mortars hitting nearby will do little or no damage to your Vendettas, right? Because you're cutting down their splash radius by all that percentage. So I would recommend this build. This build on a Zoe Vendetta's 18 days. You may say that's a lot. You can downgrade to a regular Vendetta and get it built in just 8 days. It's a great ship to have in your base guard. Takes just over a week to build. If you have tokens from FM, a lot less. And it's easy to rank. If you put an engine here instead, like Speed System 5, you can also use that to hit bases. I mean, most of the specials you have in here, you have turret defense from the Capacitor, and all the other specials would be right. Just a lockdown would be useless, so you could use another mortar here and have a ship that you can use to hit bases, or for now, you can even use for your Forsaken mission, and it will excel in all three scenarios if you put Speed System here. Yes, just in case anyone asks about a lower level version of that same idea, here's a basic Citadel, which could be a Harlock Citadel for better results. Very high ablative armor, so it resists daisy cutters, rockets and all, in case you don't have the anti-rocket turret. Same mortars, could be all judgment, could be a mix, could be all coaxial. I prefer all judgments or a mix. And a whole bunch of splash upgrades, which could be a whole bunch of explosive upgrades if you have them, and explosive system 4. I prefer combustion system 2, it's more effective, but this one gives more projectile speed. So that's a simpler version of that same Vendetta idea, but still the Zoe Vendetta would be your best pick, and followed by the Harlock Citadel, regular Vendettas, or regular Citadels, okay? Alright, so that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, and great sailing, pirates.